Pokemon evolving is one of the best moments a trainer can experience on their journey. You get to see your partner and team members reach new heights after working hard together, and Ash Ketchum is no exception to this. He's caught so many Pokemon over the years and has witnessed plenty of evolutions, from seeing his first capture in Caterpie evolve into a beautiful Butterfree, Chimchar reaching its full potential by evolving into Infernape, or witnessing his Pokemon evolve into a completely new form like with his Dusk Lycanroc. Seeing your Pokemon evolve is such a great feeling, which is why in today's video we'll be counting down Ash Ketchum's 10 best Pokemon evolutions. Hey Pokemon champions, I'm Champion Blaze, and all of these moments just have such a cool factor associated with them, and most of them are also on here for having intense moments happening before and or after the evolution occurs. All these evolutions stand out in their own way and impact their respective series in different ways. I must say ranking these evolutions was actually a bit harder than I thought, so be sure to leave your favorite Ash Ketchum evolution moments in the comments, and let's take a look back at the best evolutions for Ash Ketchum's Pokemon. Kicking off the list at number 10, we have Ash's Boldore. The black and white anime was the first series to change the traditional look of Pokemon evolution, as we went from a typical white light of evolution to this light blue evolution animation with light green rings surrounding the Pokemon. Now personally I was never a fan of this evolution animation, but thankfully they quickly changed this animation to the dark blue animation we'd see from black and white until the end of Sun and Moon. Boldore was one of, if not the first Pokemon to be seen evolving using this newly updated animation. During Ash's gym battle against Clay in Driftveil City, Ash finds himself down to his last Pokemon, being Roggenrola. This proves to be difficult for Ash since not only is Roggenrola at a type disadvantage being a rock type, but Excadrill is pummeling it with a barrage of drill runs and horn attacks. Eventually Roggenrola takes one more head-on attack, and it seems that Roggenrola has been knocked out as it just stops moving and reacting to Excadrill's attack. But this is just a fake out, as Roggenrola is just channeling its energy to evolve. The dark blue light envelops Roggenrola, and the evolution is very detailed, which is an aspect I really love about evolutions beginning in black and white, since they're so much more detailed than in the past. It's such an upgrade. This whole sequence is so cool, and Boldore even gets this awesome final shot after evolving. This also gives Boldore the power it needs to properly stand up to Excadrill and get the win. This evolution also has some really daunting music accompanying it as Boldore evolves to really show it's gaining a lot of power, and then it's followed by the gym battle victory theme as we get to the end of the battle. A perfect example of a good evolution. Next we'll jump to Pokemon Journeys, as at number 9 we have Ash's Sirfetch'd. The evolution of Ash's Galarian Farfetch'd into Sirfetch'd was so well done, I honestly wish I could have placed it higher, because this evolution is such a great payoff to everything Sirfetch'd has been through up until this point. Farfetch'd come on, is battling Rinto's Gallade once again. Gallade has served as a rival for Farfetch'd in this series, and it lost the last time they battled, which only drives Farfetch'd more to want to become stronger, since back then it was only battling with brute force while Gallade had more polished moves. In this battle there is amazing back and forth between Farfetch'd and Gallade as they exchange Night Slash attacks, Fury Cutter, and close combat, and Farfetch'd is really showing off its skills battling with its leek. However, after using Detect, Gallade lands the attack Feint, which slices Farfetch'd's leek. It is devastated and almost doesn't know how to continue the battle, but Ash reminds Farfetch'd of his training with Wilkstrom of the Kalos Elite Four, who taught it how to hone its battling skills as a future knight. Farfetch'd picks up its broken leek and begins to battle with it like a sword and shield, in honor of Aegislash's teachings. Rinto even says it's pretending to be a knight, and I love these two pieces of foreshadowing for its eventual evolution. The battle continues and Farfetch'd lands 3 critical hits against Gallade, which triggers its evolution into Sirfetch'd. They even made the evolution look unique here by mixing blue and white light and having the blue light resemble an aura engulfing Farfetch'd as its body glows white and its leek becomes a proper sword and shield. Its Japanese name is even known as Nagiga Naito, which brings this full circle as Farfetch'd becomes the knight it was always destined to be. It then battles its heart out after taking heavy damage from Gallade and ends up winning against Gallade with great animation too. This was such a great payoff to its training with Wilkstrom, its previous PWC battles, its battle with that girder, and the build-up was perfect. This evolution felt so earned for this strong duck. Next we're hopping back to Unova to talk about Ash's Crocodile, a true classic moment of a trainer believing in their Pokemon and triggering their evolution. It's Ash vs Iris in the World Tournament Junior Cup, and it's Krokorok vs Dragonite. The action in this battle is really good, and Dragonite lands several good hits against Krokorok using Ice Beam and Flamethrower. This deals big damage to Krokorok. It looks as though it's unable to battle, but Ash cheers it on and encourages it to keep battling. This is when Krokorok stands up, lets out a mighty yell, and begins to evolve. This evolution was packed with intensity, as this Pokemon has proven proved it strong before, but here it surpasses its limits and becomes Crocodile. And don't just take my word for it, here are Ash and Dawn's reactions to Crocodile's evolution.
Would you look at that? Wow, that's awesome! So cool!
This evolution blew everyone away. What's even better is that this evolution is accompanied by Shinji Miyazaki's iconic black and white title theme that's probably one of the most recognizable themes in all of Pokémon. This evolution was so great it was deserving of Shinji Miyazaki music. Let that sink in. I also love the red glow from Crocodile's eyes before it begins to evolve. That's just badass. We have another detailed transformation like Ash's Boldore, and it lets out a mighty cry after evolving. It then goes on to learn Dragon Claw and defeat Iris's Dragonite. An absolutely great debut appearance of Ash's Univ Ace to show its strength. Moving to the next generation, we have Ash's Goodra from Kalos. We first met Goodra as a small Goomy that was very timid and easily scared, but it would become a Sliggoo eventually and gain some strength by staying by Ash's side. Eventually, it would reach its final form in a decently quick amount of time, yet still well paced across the season of XY. Goodra's whole arc going from Goomy to Goodra was about strength, but not strength for itself. Goodra desired to be stronger for its friends back in the wetlands and for Ash and the gang. This is what leads to Sliggoo evolving into Goodra. During a battle with Team Rocket, a forest fire erupts and surrounds Ash and Serena as well as Team Rocket. Bonnie and Clement become distanced from them due to a tree collapsing in front of them. The flames are dangerous and Sliggoo sees the danger that everyone is in. What's so great about this moment is that it's such a huge payoff for everything Sliggoo has experienced with Ash up until this point. From watching his Coumarine City gym battle against Ramos, traveling and training with Ash, this all leads to Sliggoo mustering up the courage to help his friends. Sliggoo summons a mighty rain dance and begins to glow. Also, its cry when it summons rain dance is just hilarious. Listen to this. Oh man, I love that. During the rain, Sliggoo glows with a dark blue light, and this epic dragon animation is created from the light of the evolution that bursts up into the sky, almost symbolizing Sliggoo reaching new heights and levels of strength. It then becomes a mighty Goodra and the rain puts out the fire. Upon evolving into Goodra, its Dragon Breath attack also upgrades to the powerful Dragon Pulse attack. Goodra is the first evolution of Ash's Kalos Pokemon, where a Pokemon evolves to save someone else or a group of people and Pokemon, and I really love that aspect of his Kalos Pokemon because it just adds so much more weight and impact to the evolutions. But this evolution was actually pretty quick, so I can't rate it much higher, but I do love this payoff to Goodra's arc thus far, as it's now become strong and evolved like it's always wanted. We've got another Kalos Pokemon to discuss, and that's Greninja. Wow, Greninja not taking number 1 on a list? That's a first. We all love Greninja. We love Ash Greninja, and although some may call him overrated, it's an absolutely fantastic Pokemon, and its evolution into its final form was great to see. Foreshadowed back in Ash's gym battle against Olympia, Frogadier engages in battles at the ninja village when it's invaded by Kagetomo and his allies since he wants to become the new chief. Really gives off a lot of Pokemon Conquest and Naruto vibes. Ash and Sanpei are battling against the Bisharp using Pikachu, Frogadier, and Greninja. They all get blown back by Bisharp's powerful Snarl attack. While Pikachu is down, Bisharp goes for Shadow Claw, but Frogadier steps in to defend Pikachu. This clash between Bisharp and Frogadier triggers its evolution, another great example of Ash's Pokemon evolving to defend and protect others. You love to see it. Frogadier defends Pikachu and blows back Bisharp. We see Frogadier's body change and become Ash's legendary Greninja, striking a classic ninja pose. Frogadier evolved to save Pikachu and to save the entire ninja village. I just love seeing Ash's Kalos team evolve and unlock new strength to rise to a new challenge in this series. What's even better is that after evolving, we get our first look at the iconic Ash Greninja form. Ash and Greninja refuse to be defeated, and Greninja uses its new power to defeat Bisharp. And as added flavor to the evolution, they even make the evolution animation resemble water as well, which is similar to the water veil that surrounds Greninja when it becomes Ash Greninja. It was such a detailed, intense, and absolutely great moment for Ash's Greninja. If there's one Pokemon we all love, it's Ash's Infernape, or in this case, Monferno. Ash's Infernape may be the GOAT, but Monferno definitely had the cooler evolution. After being abandoned by Paul and joining Ash's team, Chimchar would get stronger alongside Ash and participate in gym battles against Fantina, Byron, and Candace. And during his time in Snowpoint City, Ash would engage in a 6v6 full battle against Paul at Lake Acuity, which to this day remains one of the greatest battles in Pokemon history. Ash is down to his last Pokemon, Chimchar, while Paul still has 5 Pokemon left. Chimchar and Ash know what's on the line, and Chimchar wants to win just as badly as Ash does. With a quick series of attacks, Chimchar is able to defeat Paul's Ursaring. Ash takes a breather and is impressed with Chimchar's performance, saying that it's time for them to turn things around. Chimchar nods with determination in its eyes and begins to evolve. Ash's belief in Chimchar's abilities to win this battle allows it to gain new power and evolve. The evolution is shot so dynamically, showing the changes in Chimchar's body, and for the time, this was a pretty detailed evolution. Monferno evolves and learns Mach Punch as a result and sends a Sonic Blast towards Paul, as if he's showing his new power to Paul that he could never unlock. This is a great payoff to Chimchar's development so far, as Paul and Chimchar were never compatible, but Ash and Chimchar were. Chimchar's desire to win and his deep connection to Ash manifests into him evolving into Monferno, learning Mach Punch, and igniting his tail flame to show Paul he won't go down without a fight. Even Paul's Electabuzz is surprised seeing Chimchar has evolved, but respects his newfound strength. Monferno may have lost the battle, but this evolution was a great turning point in the Diamond and Pearl anime. Monferno is the perfect example of the duality of Paul and Ash's ideologies, and this moment was epic, dynamic, and the intensity of the battle surrounding this evolution made it even better. Going back to Ash's Kalos team, we have Hawlucha's little brother, Noivern. Noivern was another timid dragon type Ash got in Kalos and was hatched from an egg. Noivern learned from the rest of Ash's team and worked to get stronger and stronger, and while heading to the Zapdos festival, they ended up having a dangerous encounter with Zapdos. Hawlucha went toe-to-toe with Zapdos, and even after landing a powerful high jump kick, Zapdos struck it down with a powerful thunderbolt. Noivern is devastated seeing its big brother go down like that, so it begins to fly and fly faster. It tries with all its might to go as fast as it can to get to Hawlucha in time. This desire to save Hawlucha manifests itself into Noivern evolving into Noivern. This gives it the speed necessary to reach Hawlucha in time and save its big brother. This moment of Noivern saving Hawlucha is so beautiful and touching. They really made the Kalos evolution so emotional and hit home. And it's even cooler because Noivern used its new strength to stand up to Zapdos and battle it. It slams Zapdos into a rock pillar using Boom Burst and does some real damage, making it the second of Ash's Kalos Pokemon to square off against a legendary Pokemon. It's just as cool as another certain evolution on this team. During this moment, you were really rooting for Noivern, and the evolution is just outstanding. The final Kalos Pokemon to appear on this list is Ash's Talonflame. I can't help it if all the XY evolutions were incredible. This was Ash's first Kalos Pokemon to battle a legendary Pokemon, as Talonflame evolved during its battle with Moltres. They went looking for Moltres after they ran into Trevor, who said Moltres would be appearing in this area and he wanted to photograph it. They eventually find Moltres and it attacks them. It's Fletchinder versus Moltres, and Fletchinder takes some big damage. Moltres goes for a flamethrower attack to strike at Ash and the gang, but Fletchinder can't allow this to happen. In a race against the clock, we see Fletchinder side by side the flamethrower attack as it races to get to Ash and them in time. It begins to evolve as it races towards them, and when it finally does, it takes the attack head on as it continues to evolve. This leads to Fletchinder becoming Talonflame. This is by far the most intense evolution on the list. Moltres is ready to burn everyone to a crisp, and we see Fletchinder trying to outspeed the flamethrower side by side, and then it takes the attack and evolves into a mighty phoenix. Talonflame is partially based on a phoenix, which is the same inspiration as Moltres. So it's very fitting that Talonflame evolves against a phoenix. It even holds its own against Moltres and learns Brave Bird. It may get struck down after learning Brave Bird, but this moment was so cool and it was a great debut for Talonflame. The runner-up comes from Alola, as it's Ash's Incineroar. Man, talk about the most satisfying evolution in Pokemon history. If you actually stuck around throughout the entirety of the Sun and Moon anime, then you know how great the rivalry between Ash's Torracat and Kukui's Incineroar was. Even back as a Litten, it looked up to Kukui's Incineroar as an obstacle to surpass and as a teacher of sorts. They first battled in the Battle Royal Dome and have been sparring partners ever since. They would battle on quite a few different occasions, and Litten even evolved into Torracat in a battle against Incineroar. So I love that the writers chose not to evolve Torracat until it defeated Incineroar in the Alola League. For the entire series, Torracat was working to become stronger than Incineroar. To surpass it, it worked on endurance, speed, stamina, power, all in efforts to become stronger and make his late mentor Stoutland proud. It's not until Torracat defeats Kukui's Incineroar that it lets itself evolve into its final form. After all the trials and tribulations, it proved itself stronger as a Torracat. This is probably the best written example of a pre-evolved Pokemon proving it can defeat its evolved form in the entire anime. After an intense battle against Kukui's Incineroar and other Pokemon like Venusaur, it evolves and then passes out from exhaustion, which was pretty funny. A well-deserved evolution that serves as one of the most satisfying payoffs to a Pokemon's development in the entire Pokemon anime. Before we get to the number 1 entry, there are a few Pokemon I felt should be mentioned here, being Butterfree, Quilava, and Lucario. Butterfree of course was Ash's first ever Pokemon to evolve, which parallels how many trainers' first Pokemon to evolve would be a Butterfree, especially at the time in the anime with the only games being out, being Red, Blue, Green, and Yellow. It also symbolizes how many people's first Pokemon to evolve is an early route Pokemon. Butterfree evolving after battling the Beedrill is still one of the most iconic evolutions in the Pokemon anime and is unforgettable. Quilava received its long-awaited and long-overdue evolution during the Sinnoh League arc of the anime. Ash had Professor Oak send him a lot of his Pokemon back while he was trying to figure out which Pokemon to use for the Sinnoh League, which of course included Cyndaquil. Team Rocket tried to steal the Pokemon because they're Team Rocket, and they actually trigger Cyndaquil to evolve into Quilava, and it promptly defeats them by learning Eruption. It was definitely a cool moment and way overdue, and it probably would have been on the list had Cyndaquil actually evolved in Johto like it should have, especially in its battle against Jasmine Steelix. Like, that was the perfect moment for it to evolve. Finally, we have Ash's Lucario, who evolved from Riolu during the highly rushed Darkest Day arc. The evolution here uses a new evolution animation since for some reason Jenny's decided to change the animation. It still looks good, but it doesn't compare to the animation we'd been seeing since Black and White. It's still a great moment as Riolu evolves to gain its Steel typing against two other Steel type Pokemon. Ash and Lucario connect via Aura, and we finally get the moment of Ash commanding Lucario to use Aura Sphere, which we've been waiting to hear for years. Nothing crazy here, but I felt it deserved to be mentioned. With that said, let's see which Pokemon evolution will earn the title for Best Evolution. We're staying in Alola for the final entry as the best evolution goes to Ash's Dusk Lycanroc. If you're watching the anime and didn't know how to get Dusk Lycanroc in the games and avoided any kind of spoilers on the internet, then seeing Ash's Rockruff evolve into a brand new form of Lycanroc completely blew your mind, just like it did to me. It wasn't as cool or epic as seeing Ash's Greninja take a new form in battle after evolving, but the wow and awe factor here is just insane. After having an intense battle against Kahuna Olivia's Midday Lycanroc, Ash's Rockruff comes out on top, and by this point we've already known about both forms of Lycanroc, and we've seen Ash's Rockruff develop a rivalry with Gladian's Midnight Lycanroc. We end up being told about this rare phenomenon called the Green Flare, which is something that can happen during an Alolan sunset. Rockruff stares intently at this green flare, and this triggers its evolution into Dusk form Lycanroc. This was mind-blowing, and we get to see Ash own a new Pokemon with a new form. The evolution completely stands out by using this amazing green light during the animation. It's by far the most detailed evolution in all of Pokemon. You can see every change that Rockruff is undergoing, every little change in its body, and everything feels like a natural change. Instead of just seeing a Pokemon enveloped in a white or blue light and then changing and growing, we see how the evolution makes sense. We actually in detail get to see how Rockruff grows into Lycanroc. The detail is immaculate, and the shot of all three Lycanroc howling together is simply awesome. It's always cool to see the Pokédex unable to identify a new Pokemon, so the audience gets to learn about the new Pokemon at the same time as the characters. We then get a wholesome shot of Ash with all of his Alolan Pokemon up until this point, which was so beautiful. Rockruff went through a lot up until this point, and evolving after defeating another version of Lycanroc was great to see, so Ash's Dusk Lycanroc takes home the title for the best Ash Ketchum Pokemon Evolution. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure to leave your favorite Ash Ketchum evolutions in the comments below. Special thanks to our channel members for their extra support, and until next time, train hard, and I'll catch you guys later.